Starting. And we are... Come on, let's go. Be live. And we're live. Hi, and welcome to MCC Radio, episode 6. And today... Oh, I'm John.
I'm Brian, of course.
And today we're going to be talking about retro movies.
Retro movies and retro formats.
Yes.
Meaning VHS, Beta, Laserdisc, and all the other fun stuff.
Yeah, so, Brian, what do we have to tell people about our site and stuff like that?
Okay, well, so we're going to do our housekeeping to start off. So, first I'd like to mention that we have a new video series starring me. It's Brian's Man Cave, and I'm keeping it a little bit loose and easy, so it's just me sitting there showing off some of my stuff, talking about the things that I like to do in my man cave. You know, little things. I'll play some video games, some Atari games. So I already got 2 episodes up. Still working on it, though. I mean, I want to work on some of the camera angles and stuff. And,
yeah, of course.
You know, I'm having fun with this. So, you know, this is a little bit cheeky, so it's not to be taken seriously, but...
No, we don't take ourselves seriously. That's one thing for sure.
We're a bunch of guys who like to have fun, and I think that's what people like about us, right? We're not so, you know... But anyways, yeah, so that's something I'm working on, so just watch out for those. I'll be posting the videos as they come out, and I'll hope to get a little series going, and yeah, so that's one thing. We also have one other thing to talk about. I don't know if John has anything to add to it, but we have a car show coming up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so, well, we're not putting on the car show. We're going to be at the car show. And if you're in the Toronto, the Mississauga area,
yeah,
in Port Credit Legion, I got the address right here, actually. I had to write it down. I had to take notes today. I don't. My brain is just not there. But yeah, 35 Front Street, North Mississauga, Port Credit. On Sunday 13 is it's a classic car show. So we're gonna have a table there. We're gonna show off some of our goods. We're gonna, you know, push the man cave cinema. We want to, you know, get some more local people involved and
yep.
Yeah, show off some of the
stuff.
stuff.
I'm gonna bring in my son's TV and his Atari 7800. We're gonna be showing that off, so people can play. We'll have the Edelad and Twin 78
on display
so people can play. Plus we're going to be selling some cartridges and games and stuff like that, and we're going to have our Coleco mini games there too. Maybe some people might be interested to pick those up.
Yeah, those are cool. I wish I had my own, because I'd definitely put those in my man cave for sure.
Yeah, exactly, even though I'm selling mine, but anyway. That's a different story. Another thing that I want to bring up is that I started as of last week or this past week with my son going around. I'm hunting for some more video games. So I'm hunting for Intellivision, ColecoVision, Atari, and I might be moving on to more Nintendo and more Sega Genesis stuff. Just because the holidays are coming up. The stock is pretty low right now, so we need to beef that up big time.
And people like video games. So.
Yes, what a perfect gift for Christmas for you know, a 40 to 54-year-old to get them like a classic video game.
Yeah, I just saw, actually on Facebook, I was kind of jealous. I saw this guy got a Atari 7800 and some games and stuff from his wife for his birthday. I'm like, holy shit. You know,
I wish my wife was that
nice. That's so cool. My wife wouldn't know the first thing about that. She'd be like, what, Atari? What? She knows what an Atari is, but for her to actually find one and know what I want, I would never expect that of her. So yeah, that's cool that you know, some wives can actually tune in on that stuff, and, you know, good going.
Exactly. And then what else do I want to talk about? Is there anything else that I want to talk about?
I don't know.
What else do you have there, Brian?
That was all I wanted to say, because you know, we got a pretty interesting show today, so lots to talk about.
One more thing, everybody out there on Facebook, go to the Man Cave Cinema. Let us know if you want any type of particular video game. I ask people all the time, so when I go on my hunt, I can look specifically for those games.
Not just video games, though. Anything. We love video games. Our first couple of podcasts, we did a lot of video game stuff. But I think there's a lot of other man cave stuff out there that we can also get into, right?
Yeah.
So if there's anything you guys find you're looking for and you need a little assistance, ask us. We could even tap into our crowd and see if they have anything or any examples.
Exactly, absolutely. So, like what Brian said, that's exactly it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about retro movies and retro formats. And I think, Brian, let's start off with the retro formats back in the 70s where it all first started. And then we'll lead nicely into the retro movies because,
well, there's a nice progression there.
Yeah, exactly. So,
now, to be honest here, when I was a kid, I was that kid that didn't have a VCR until a little bit later on. Like I had my Intellivision video game system before I had a VCR kind of thing. So, and I knew people that had I had friends that had a Beta machine, but I didn't have a lot of experience actually using them or anything about the format. So this is one of these things. I'm sure John's got a lot more experience than I do.
Well, because I'm older and I need a cane.
He's a little bit older.
Okay, here's my story. Okay, and I think I've alluded this to you, but I wanted to save it for the podcast. The most interesting thing was a good friend of mine in Montreal. His dad went out and picked up a Sony Betamax machine back in '82, probably '81. I'm not sure, and I think he picked it up in the U.S. because again, back then, things were hyper expensive in Canada versus things in the U.S. And even with the difference in the dollar, it was still cheaper to buy a lot of that stuff in the U.S. So he had this machine. He had this Beta machine. Was just like, whoa! You can record stuff. You can do all kind. Just mind blowing what he can do. And back then, when pay TV was, the movie channels,
First Choice, and
yeah, exactly, and it was like Much Music and stuff.
Yeah.
He used to tape music videos all the time, and then we used to go back and watch them. And then he started taping some Saturday morning cartoons like the Pac-Man cartoon from the 80s, stuff like that. So we had all kinds of stuff to watch. So that was very cool, and it was just phenomenal. And I remember him telling me the reason why his dad picked up that player, because all the other Beta machines, and I think somebody told him that the Beta is better than VHS because both of them were relatively out back then.
Supposedly, yes.
That's what it was. And he said the reason why his dad bought it because all the material inside was all metal. It wasn't all plastic. Exactly. So that was one of the reasons why. And I have no idea how much he paid for it, and it was probably a lot. But the cool thing about it later on is maybe a year later, as they had the machine, that summer or the summer before, whatever, he went to see Blade Runner for the first time in the movie theater. And he's a year older than me. He loved the movie so much that back then, first of all, there was hardly any rental video stores out there. Maybe one or two in a neighborhood.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
And then on top of that, he actually went and bought a copy of the movie. I don't know where he got it from, because back then you couldn't just go buy movies wherever you wanted like they are now. I don't know where he got this from, but
must have had friends in high places.
Maybe, who knows? Maybe his dad used a few people, who knows? But the version of the movie that he got was, quote unquote, and they didn't say it back then that it was like a special edition. It had added clips in it, because the part where Tyrell gets his eyes poked out by Batty, I think it was, the Rutger Hauer character, squeezed his eyes out. That wasn't in the movie. That was taken out. They added it back in for the video release. So he was all excited for that. He paid over $100 for that movie back then.
Yeah, I can believe that, actually. And what wasn't also, like, if you're talking about Beta here, the quality and the sound was a lot better. And however, wasn't there an issue with the amount of space,
recording length? Yes.
Recording. Now, did that apply to ones you purchased though? Like, were they able to actually put a full length movie on?
Yeah, they could.
You couldn't record. You couldn't record that same amount of time, but they could sell them that way. Because how could a full movie fit on that?
Because there was tape? Two, and I'm a bit cloudy on this because I never had the player, but I remember there was a switch on it for Beta 1 and Beta 2. Beta 1 was the smaller. I think it was like either half an hour or 45 minutes you can record on. And Beta 2 was like 2 hours to 2.5 hours. So it was a longer thing because that was one of the hits against Beta, that the tapes weren't long enough to tape.
Yeah, you can tape your soaps, you can tape your baseball games, you can
anything that ran over 2 hours or an hour, it was game over.
Yeah, done. Yeah, you'd have to, and I think that this is part of the what they were calling the format wars, right? Where VHS came out and said, we got this non-proprietary system where you can have these like tapes that can go up to what
2 to 8 hours.
8 hours, I think.
Yeah, it was 8 hours.
And because I actually remember buying blank tapes, and always looking at the different the prices first, but then I would also look at the record time.
Yeah,
because I was just like everyone else. I used to record everything. Like like you said, the Saturday morning cartoons. I used to pop my tape in there because it was always hard to maybe have the time to go in and watch them yourself, so you would record them, or I'd watch them and record them so I could watch them back.
Yeah, you can watch them again over and over again.
Yeah,
right?
It's better than waiting for the reruns, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can watch it anytime you wanted to, and that was the thing with my buddy. Like, he would tape music videos, and we'd go back and watch them, type of thing.
Exactly.
Afterwards.
Yeah, I remember sitting there with the remote, going, okay. Start recording now.
Yeah, exactly. So you can get the exact moment.
And then there was, and then you started to get into the timers where you can say, okay, I want to start recording at this time and then stop at this time. Now you were taking a risk that the TV was going to be on time. Right?
Yes, exactly.
And it would always suck if you'd lose like half, or whatever. It would start 10 minutes late, and
you
shifts your whole time off. And
exactly.
The disappointment when you're like, oh my god, it's already in the middle of the movie, or oh my god, it cuts off at the end. And sometimes I used to just be like, okay, it's a 2-hour movie, so I'm going to start it like half an hour before, and then you get all this like crap before and after, and you sit there with the rewind or fast forward, and you're just like,
yeah, exactly.
Looking at your watch, okay, that's what I want. But it was fun. I mean,
it was
the experience of owning the VHS, and like I said, I didn't have a beta player, but I did have friends that did, and it was one of those things that always irked me because, first of all, they had movies that I didn't have, and I always was jealous of, like, oh my god, like, I did an article earlier about Predator, the movie, and I mentioned it in Predator that in my article that was one of those movies where I wanted to always watch it, but my friend had it on beta and I had the VHS, and I was like, why do they have to have these two different formats?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is I'd go to the video store, which is, this is a progression here because now we're getting into the videos rental world.
Yeah.
And the store that I went to, this is before like the big ones like Blockbuster. And
it was
like
all
that.
The little guys, all the mom and pop shops.
Yeah, the mom and pop stores. So I always remember they would always have the beta. They never had the VHS in stock.
Yeah.
Because they had two little tags. It'd be like beta and VHS. And the VHS one would always be gone. The beta would always be there. And I'm like, why? Why is this? I didn't understand then. I kind of understand now because the beta machines were so expensive.
Yeah, no, they were hyper expensive. And then 2 years after my buddy had the what was it? The beta machine. Oh, I have a funny story. We all were invited. My whole family was invited to my friend's place because we were all family friends. And we were all invited there to go watch a movie. And the movie they played back then, there was a caveman movie that came out in the 80s.
Quest for Fire?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And my dad's friend, once it got up to the humping scene, he fast forward through it. So me and my buddy who were like teens at this point.
Early teens?
Early teens are like, yeah, okay, we get it. But then my brother is like, what's going on? Why is he fast forwarding it? So that was funny.
Teachers would do that in school too.
Yeah.
We in music class, I remember our teacher put in Amadeus.
Yeah.
And there's a few scenes in there where she had to like run and just like hit fast forward.
Well, you guys had VCRs during school? During school, we had film projectors.
Oh, we had film projectors, but later on, when they used to have that big, huge wheelie cart thing, with the TV strapped to it with locks and bolts, and then they had this monstrous like 1972 VHS recorder that it had that big top loader piece that went.
Okay, here we go. And this segues perfect to what my dad got 2 years after that. My buddy got was an RCA. For some odd reason, my dad and one of his best friends knew somebody at RCA or knew somebody who dealt with all of this stuff. So, like, our TV was RCA's.
Everything RCA?
Yeah, everything was RCA, where RCA was a real company back then. So what happened was we got one of these units that it wasn't that thick. It was like 80s thick. It wasn't 70s.
80s thick.
It wasn't 70s thick, but it was a top loader. But the cool thing about it is you can pull out the video part, and it had camera hookups to it. So you can put it in a bag, strap it around a thing, and with the hookups, hook it up to a camera, and then put it back in, which we never did.
It was like those giant cameras that people used to like
yes.
put on their shoulder.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like, you know.
It weighed 20 tons, and it wasn't that good quality anyways.
And it took, I think they took like the big tapes too. I don't know. I remember.
No, that was before they actually took the big tapes.
That was when they took the what did they take? Those little.
Nothing.
It just went right into the recorder.
To the recorder, yeah. The recorder part was the part that. So you actually had to pull it out and hook it up with wires, and that made it into a camera which could record, which was stupid as hell.
Imagine walking around like that. Man.
But the cool thing about it is that stupid VCR. Later on, when we moved here to the Toronto area in '87, and then later in sort of the late '80s, I started getting into, or early '90s when I started getting into home theater. For when my dad bought it in like '84, '85, it had stereo output in it. So in other words, I can do surround sound from it. So you put in a VHS tape that had surround sound encoded on it, and then I picked up this really I used decoder from a friend of mine that decoded that. I got surround sound using that VCR. So that there was one good thing about that type of thing.
And one thing I heard too is I don't know, I didn't get the facts on this one, but Laserdiscs were one of the first ones to have the surround sound feature.
Yeah, that was their main goal. Pioneer, who pioneered it, for the lack of the better word, was their big thing, was to have the full home theater experience on analog disc, but using laser, not like Selectavision.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah. I had to look that one up.
I remember. I got a really good story for you on that one. It's funny, and so yeah, the Laserdisc helped usher in the home theater craze because it gave people with big screen TVs or whatever an opportunity now to put in a full sound system and get that auditory experience also.
Yeah.
So then backtracking a bit, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right or wrong. Somebody out there will probably do it, but Selectravision, made by RCA. Okay, my dad's same buddy had a cottage or cabin or a house down in Florida, just outside of Tarpon Springs in Florida. So he let us use the place once in a while, right? So he had a big screen RCA TV back then, big screen. Like when me and my brother went, we're like, okay, we're sleeping on the couch. It's just like nobody had big screens back then.
I was gonna say, I didn't know there was big screen TVs back then.
Yeah, there was.
I mean, there was big TVs, but most of it wasn't the actual screen. It was like
it was a rear projection, big screen TV.
Jeez.
And on top of it, he had this dude had money.
Yeah, I was gonna say he had money.
He had money, and the funny part was he had a Selectavision player on top. So I'm like, okay, cool, but I didn't know what it was or what it is or whatever. So one night, and I'm a night owl. I like staying up and watching TV. Even when I was a kid, I still do it now. Even now,
I used to.
I had zero. I had zero sleep last night. I'm running on fumes. So I'm going through the I found the cabinet where the discs were. Okay, because it comes in that big cartridge thing. So it's like Apocalypse Now. I'm like, I don't want to see that. Some other movie. Nah, I don't want to see that. And then it's like Playboy. So it's one of those Playboy video things. I'm going, oh, let me check this out. Pull it out. So I have no idea how to use this thing. So I shove it in.
Oh no.
Press play. It's
no.
And all I hear is, I'm like, what's going on here? It's like, I want to see boobs. I don't want to destroy it. So I right away press stop.
Eject.
I don't know how
mission.
I don't know how the hell I got it up and just like quietly put it back, close the cabinet. It's like, okay, I know nothing.
Back away.
I know nothing. I did nothing. If that thing's stuck in there, it's not my fault. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing. That's all. I'm walking away from this. And then I have another story about that. I have no idea what year this was. And this again was in the 80s. It was in Ottawa. I was hanging out with my cousins, and my youngest cousin is 2 years older than me, and then the other ones are subsequently each a year older. And so they had all their Greek friends together at somebody's house, and we were going to watch a movie, and it was on a Selectavision disc that they rented.
You rented them?
Yeah, they had rental video stores for Selectavision, and it was Robin Williams' comedy thingy, like one of his live stand-up things.
Oh, okay.
But the funny thing was, it would play fine every so often, and then it would just skip and jump, and the guy would have to play stop and press play again, and it would keep on playing. Just a pain in the ass.
It's really just a needle-based system, just like the...
Yeah, it was a needle-based system that they had to super protect, but it had a very bouncy needle. It didn't track that well sometimes.
Sounds worse than a record player.
It was brutal. And I don't know how they rented these things, because these things would break almost immediately.
I could see it probably came in like 10 pounds of foam or something like that.
No, there's just big it was like the case for it, like where the sleeve was a thick plastic sleeve.
But the rental place must have encased it in foam. Don't take it out of the foam until you're ready to shove it in there.
No, there wasn't. I remember when I used to walk to the arcade or ride my bike, there was a video store that just rented a Selectavision. So I remember he had up in his store like what did he have? Piranha. And like really bad 70s like horror flicks in his store window. I'm like, really?
Yeah. Well, I remember the Laserdisc when there was one of the malls near where I grew up. It opened up a Laserdisc store, and I remember walking in there going, okay, this is for the rich. But anyways, I was a teenager, I guess, at that time. I couldn't even afford CDs, let alone a Laserdisc, right? I bought tapes or... I was still preferring records at the time, but this is just before records were on their way out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
The CDs were coming in, and it was my neighbor that actually had a CD player, so I was like, whoa, those are awesome. And when I saw the Laserdisc, I'm like, whoa, they're so big. It's like this massive CD-looking thing. I'm like, it just looks cool. Like, I would just buy it for the cool factor, but...
Yeah.
I don't remember them lasting too long. I'm thinking, I guess, the video cassette is what really... the DVDs came in, but then the video cassette was just much more convenient or much more cheaper to buy. And
Laserdisc was a niche format for the home theater crowd, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay? The everyday layperson, and even me, who was a home theater guy back in the 90s, I still had to rely on VHS, A, because it was cheaper, and B, to buy a movie it was $90.
Yeah, and I remember, I think the VHS, from what I remember, I'm trying to go back now to the pricing. Some of them were like $19.99 all the way up to like $25 for a cassette.
Yes, which is not like for Blu-ray and well, not so much DVD anymore, but for Blu-ray.
DVDs today are still, like, I was actually... the latest Star Wars, The Force Awakens, came out just not too long ago, and I still don't have it on DVD. And I keep looking at the price. I'm like, I don't know. I want to pay like $20-something for a DVD. So I think back then, when the video came out, I always kind of justified it. I'm like, this is cool. I'm going to have this forever. I'm always going to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what my thinking was too.
Some of my favorite movies I always bought, most of them were horror movies. Like, I used to go to the rental store all the time and rent all the horror movies, like every horror movie they had practically. And so, one of my favorites was Nightmare on Elm Street. So I ended up buying all of the Nightmare on Elm Street boxes, and and I thought, I'll keep these forever. And it wasn't actually that long ago, probably a couple of years back, I felt like watching the third one, so I put it into the VCR.
The third one's awesome.
Yeah, and I put it in the VCR, and I'm noticing it's all kind of grainy and it's red, and like I don't know, there's like this red kind of hue over it. I can barely make out the scenes, and I just stopped. I'm like, something's wrong with these. I don't know, maybe it's just old age, whatever. And I ended up getting the box set with the full series and DVD, and I put the third one in, and I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, like maybe it's because I'm watching this now on a a high definition TV kind of thing, but also the DVD quality. There was stuff I was seeing. I'm like, I've never seen that before. I didn't.
Yes.
And I've watched this movie so many times. Like I watched it when I was a kid. I watched it I lived on the Nightmare on Elm Street series. So all these movies that I rewatched on DVD, I was just like blown away because cassette and that was the thing. Like I didn't realize that cassettes were that.
Exactly, and that's what, and that's what eventually, when DVD came out, and again, somebody will correct me online. I gotta think back when it came out. I think it was like 92 when it first originally came out. I think it was in 92. And they had it in 4 test cities to introduce them, okay? And I was at a trade show in San Francisco that happened to be one of the cities selected to do the thing. So, like, literally a 2-minute walk from my hotel was a Virgin Records. On the top floor, just covered in DVD. Welcome to the future DVD. But they didn't have that many movies to select from. But I needed to buy some for my work because we needed them for testing, and it just blew my mind. But the initial DVD killed the Laserdisc, but there's a lot of stuff that went in there too. VHS again stayed along for a little, like it puttered along until the layperson, the price of a DVD player dropped so much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the layperson saw, hey, look, not only is the DVD player cheaper, it's way better.
It's better. Yeah.
It's way better than VHS ever looked like. I remember doing a demo for a buddy of mine. We put the VHS of Blade Runner in, and there's a scene at the. I don't. Have you seen the movie?
No, actually, it's one of the ones I actually haven't been. Haven't made around.
Okay, everybody on the internet, collectively slap Brian. Okay. So anyway, there's a scene where there's this black leather chair. Okay. The guy's sort of leaning forward and talking, and it says Tyrell on it. In the VHS, you can barely read it. In the DVD, not only can you read it, you can see the creases of the leather in it. Just night and day. And we're going back and forth to see this stuff, and it's just totally night and day. So here's an interesting thing, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to step back a little bit. When we used to go to Buffalo to do cross-border shopping, there used to be a video store called Hollywood Video. And everybody in the U.S. knows because they were in every fucking mall known to man. So they would have, VHSs, and then they had a Laserdisc section, right? And I saw, and me being a big Star Wars fan, they had this hardcore collector's edition pre-George Lucas fucking around with the movies, where they were still the originals from the 70s and 80s in Laserdisc format in this big leather-bound box. Okay, you couldn't open it up because it was completely sealed, but it was just amazing, and they had all the extras in it, and they had a whole bunch of stuff, and it was like $350
for the 3 movies.
For the 3 movies. Plus, you got a 4th disc that had all the extras and stuff like that, which just was fucking phenomenal. So when DVD first came out in '92, and I started following it religiously, that's when I really started getting into home theater, and I wanted to get a DVD player, and I waited 2 years after they were introduced that it fell to like $400, and I said, fuck it, I'm going to spend the money.
They reached that achievable moment where you can actually go out on Boxing Day and get one.
Yeah, well, not only just Boxing Day, but it's not $1,000 anymore. It's below $500.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit better. So I kind of...
and then a lot more companies started to create them, right?
That's right.
It's like, you walk into the Walmart at the time, and there would be all of the knockoff brands or whatever, you know. So you almost had your choice of DVD. And then the combo players came out at some point, right?
Yes.
There's the half... Because I know when I was looking at getting another VHS player, or a VHS player, that was one of my thoughts. Should I get one of those combo players? Should I just get a... Because I'm like, I still have a ton of movies that I probably don't have on DVD, or they probably don't make on DVD. So I'm thinking, I got to have the 2 players. So I thought, and at the time, like this is when Blu-ray came out, and I'm like, should I just go Blu-ray now? And it was actually the war of the HD player and the Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
And I remember being in in the Walmart looking at the bins, and they would have the HD bins and they'd have the Blu-ray bins, and I'd be like, what's the difference? And this is taking me back to the beta VHS days. And I'm like, that's interesting that the history repeating itself.
Yeah, and it was. And it was totally repeating itself.
Yeah, like the format wars, like I said earlier, they weren't much different. I mean, you had the studio going, you can't make these machines, you can't do this, you're going to ruin us, blah blah blah. And then it came out, and it turned out it was legal. So then all of a sudden they're like, okay, now you got the beta and the VHS wars, and then that, obviously the VHS won.
Could I tell you what really killed HD DVD and what killed beta?
PlayStation?
No.
I don't know.
Okay, you're going to get a good laugh out about this, and a lot of the old-timers out there will either agree with me, disagree, but I think I'm pretty right on them about this. Sony, in their infinite wisdom, did not whatsoever want to put porn on their machines.
On Blu-ray?
No, we're going back to beta now.
Oh, you're going back to beta? I'm like...
Okay, because the big thing back then was introducing, as one of my dad's friends called them, blue movies, okay, it was porn, was... that Sony said, no way, we're not having that on our machine, because before that, the only way you can get porn was to go to a porno theater, or if you had like a 16 millimeter film projector in your house and got, film strips of...
got the reel-to-reels going on.
Yeah, exactly. So then JVC, who created VHS, said, we have no problem with that.
This is like... it's funny that how the porn industry really affected the entertainment industry in this way. Like,
then it did.
If it didn't really affected, because like even just the internet itself, if it wasn't for porn, a lot of the best websites out there probably wouldn't exist, because they wouldn't have that technology that the porn people came up with, or the developers came up to push the porn. And that was actually one of the things I was told.
Do you need to push porn?
Yeah, well,
but I know what your point.
That was one of the things. When I was in web design class, our teacher he wasn't ashamed to say it. He's like, you guys want to learn the latest technologies in web stuff? Check out porn sites. They'll have it. And I'm like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? But now that you say that makes sense. This is I don't know the number, multi-billion-dollar industry. It's a huge industry, so I could totally see that they can bring down a very specific format.
Yeah,
it's totally possible.
It totally killed.
Because I've also heard like it was the cost, obviously the cost of the player versus the VHS.
Yes,
the speed, the times, how much it can hold was another factor. So I could see that there would be a lot of contributing things. And it was probably it probably took a while to finally kill the last beta, the machine. And then the VHS DVD wars kind of, I don't know if that was ever a war. I mean, they just
it was just a progression of technology.
Yeah, this is new. This is gonna, stick around. The old one's gonna still be here for a very small period of like it wasn't that long ago.
Last month when they killed off the last
DVD VHS player, right?
Yeah,
and I guess the tapes too. That's it.
All the production's done.
And I could see it's probably gonna happen soon with DVD, where it's gonna be done. You're gonna have to go with Blu-ray or whatever else comes out, or you're just gonna have to stick to streaming, which is. Again, another thing that happened where history repeated itself, where it was like 95 or 2005, sorry, when the peer-to-peer file sharing started happening. And now, again, you got into another war of technology versus the big company. And this was reminiscent of Beta versus or Sony versus Universal, right?
Yeah.
So you had the exact same thing happening where they're like, we have this product that can bring the masses entertainment.
Yeah.
And the entertainment industry saying, that, hey, you're taking our money, forget that. We're going to sue you. And now it happens again where it's like now entertainment's streaming through the computer. I mean, hell, we're streaming right now.
Yeah.
And they're looking at, okay, like when you set up your home theater now, you could say, well, do I even need a Blu-ray player? I can just put out a Roku box, or I can put in whatever inserts.
Exactly.
How many other are there? There's tons of them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't even need a VHS anymore. So what happened now? I guess it's the collectors.
Yes.
It's the nostalgia.
It's becoming a niche thing again. It's fun. But can I jump back again just a little bit? Laserdisc was supposed to be killed off by DVD, okay? Because DVD was run by a consortium of companies. Sony, JVC, all these electronic companies had patents that went into DVD so everybody can get a little bit of money on each sale and everything. Pioneer owned everything for Laserdisc, so that's why they want to kill it off. But again, you old timers out there, the best website for discussing all this stuff was called E-Town, and this is like a 90s style website. Okay, you can use it. What was it, Netscape, to go on?
Netscape, Opera.
Yeah, exactly, to go around. But I learned a lot there, and the funny thing is that people were buying DVD players and buying movies, but their favorite movies weren't out on DVD yet. There was no Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, man.
There was no Star Wars. There was no Disney movies. There was nothing. Just a few small, second, third tier movies were coming out. And Laserdisc got a bump at that time because people say, "Fuck this! I'm not waiting for Star Wars to come out because George Lucas can get off his fat ass to put out a version on DVD. I'm going to buy the Laserdisc version of the movies."
Yeah.
And they're the original. So there was a huge bump that people were like buying them left, right, and center. And when they stopped selling them at that point, people were buying them used.
And that's probably where that shift I was saying earlier happened too, right? Because you went from VHS or video recorders. At the time, their main focus was to record shit off the TV. So you record your soaps, your sports, your shows, your movies. And then that phased a bit to now we can just buy and rent the movies.
Yes.
And that was fun. I mean, those were... we did that up until like the late 90s, right?
Yeah,
like,
I loved
really,
walking to the video store and picking out a movie.
I used to do it all the time. Every Friday it was like, date night. Let's go get a movie. Let's get a pizza. You don't do that anymore, right? Because and I used to love going to Blockbuster and wander around and look at the movies. Like,
yes, exactly.
I wouldn't my wife and I, we wouldn't know what we wanted to rent. We would just go there and be like, let's wander around. We'll find something. We could read the backs. We can take our time.
Yes.
We can look at the covers. It
was part of the night out.
And they had video games too. I mean, yes, the Nintendo games and all that started appearing in there in the 80s, late 80s. But I mean, I rarely did. When Nintendo first came out and I got my first Nintendo, I did. But later on, it was mostly just the movies, and I loved looking for those weird, obscure movies that you just didn't see all the time. Like DVDs, when they came out, they were very specific. Like they were only going to put out the ones that were selling the new stuff. And so I wanted the classics. Like when it got in, like we actually on our website have a new section, fairly new anyways, called Retro Movies. And what I'm doing there is we're all actually, this is a community effort here, so even if you guys have anything, we'd like to hear it. But, so what I wanted to talk about in that section was the movies that I loved in the 80s, like the retro stuff. And this kind of goes back to when I first got my VCR. I remember the excitement of going to the video store and being like, the kid in the candy shop, like, oh my God, I get to rent a movie, go home and watch it. And I'm like, I didn't know, I was overwhelmed at that time. I didn't know what to get. And the first movie I ended up picking up was the Transformers movie.
Yes.
The cartoon, the original, the real Transformers. And because I saw it in theater and I thought, at that time, you weren't sure if you'd ever see a movie again when you saw it in theater, right?
Yeah,
you thought
exactly.
It comes in, it goes, it's done. But then, since then, it was like, nameless amounts of movies that were just great movies that I love to watch, like RoboCop, the original RoboCop.
Yes.
I mean, that movie probably scarred me as a kid. I don't know. It was kind of...
That's why you're a little bit twisted?
Yeah, a little bit. When Ed 209 blew that guy away, I was just like... my God, what did I just see there? But then, I started getting into the Nightmare on Elm Street series, like I said, and then even just movies like classic comedies, like The Three Amigos.
Yeah.
I just wrote one about that as well, because I love that movie. I just wish they made that a sequel. I was just like, that would have been, it's totally possible. The guys are still around, but it wouldn't work. Anyways, that movie, Uncle Buck. That I was just watching that yesterday.
I love that movie.
I used to put that video in and just watch it. I remember one time I was so crazy I actually watched it and then stopped it, rewound it, and watched it again back to back. I don't know. I love
John Candy as Uncle Buck was hilarious.
Yeah, anything with John Candy in it was amazing.
Yeah,
and every time I went to the video store, there was always something like that, like Uncle Buck or Summer Rental or...
Summer Rental's good too.
The Great Outdoors. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was good too.
I could watch that movie every day and still laugh at it because it's classic humor. It's not like today's humor where it has to be sex and fart jokes. It's actual humor. Like John Candy will...
I actually have Uncle Buck... I think I have it purchased on Vudu, which is like a streaming service out of the U.S.
Oh,
because now I don't, and a lot of people will hate me from the home theater groups. I don't buy Blu-rays anymore. Oh, let alone ultra high definition Blu-ray players that just came out not too long ago, which are doing 4K now. But that's a different story. We'll get into that later.
You're streaming, basically.
I'm just streaming.
Yeah, well, that's happening, right? And that's why I was saying with the collecting thing, right? Some people become collectors because one of our fans, Ali Jessa, he likes to have his movie collection. Right?
Yeah.
He asked on our Facebook page, he's like, "Can you mention me?" I'm like, "Yeah," because these are the people that keep this stuff alive, right?
Yeah, actually, him and my son are best friends. They're both in high school. They're both 16 years old, and their nostalgia thing for them, their retro thing is Barney tapes, the Wiggles, stuff they grew up with.
Yeah, exactly. This is why people like us are buying the old Atari games, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We grew up in that shit.
Yeah. So for them, it brings them back to that nostalgia of and especially they're just comfortable with that thing.
Yeah.
And they just love it.
And that's the thing, like. You got something you could put on display. It looks nice in your bookshelf. Streaming doesn't give you that. And it's the same with video. We had this discussion before when we were talking about video games, right?
Yeah.
Where, why should I buy... Because, frankly, I don't need to buy an Atari cartridge to play an Atari game. I can download an emulator on my computer and play it at will on my computer. But nothing beats having the actual physical cartridge that I can put in the machine. I could look at it. It gives me that nostalgia, right?
I agree with you 100% on the video game part with it. Okay, but on more modern games like Call of Duty...
Well, you get into the DVD, the styles.
I'd rather fucking download that because it's not... this stuff, the Atari, ColecoVision, we grew up with that. And back then, you needed to have it in your hand. Right? Now it's becoming more digital.
Yeah, and what's going to happen in the future? So you like you mentioned, like Ali's age, he's like 16. Your son's 16.
Yeah.
They have this, but the young generation now, like my daughter's 7. She's really just knows, like she's used a few videotapes. Mostly is DVD, but. Right. By the time she's a teenager, she'll probably, that
it'll
stuff...
be all digital.
That's my father's old junk. And
yeah.
they'll only know what digital is. And will there be something else? And then what's their nostalgia going to be? I mean, what are they...
Well, the thing is, hopefully, these companies will hold on to the cloud, and the cloud will last long enough that all the movies and stuff that we purchased, right, stays on the cloud. So Vudu... The thing is, if Vudu goes out of business, doesn't matter because they have that ultraviolet setting, which means any streaming service that supports ultraviolet, which all of them do now, you can watch your movies on.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah.
So if one or two companies go out of business, there's always a way to watch your collection. And the good thing about it is, on the Roku, the UI, let's say, the user interface, is like the video store. You're not physically walking around in the store, but you can click through, read the reviews, read the Rotten Tomatoes thing and stuff like that, and buy the movie, and then you have it. Yeah, you don't have the physical box.
Yeah, you don't have something physical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I do have my Blu-rays there, but all my favorites, like all the movies that I've bought over and over again. Okay, like the Star Wars from VHS, different multiple versions of VHS, to Blu-rays, multiple versions of DVD, the Blu-ray edition, and then I bought the digital version. It's just a lot easier.
Now, yeah, one thing I can say about that too is there is the issue with space, and
Yes.
that's when I was cleaning up my basement to put my man cave together, I realized how many movies I had, how many VHS I had, and you don't need a whole lot to fill a box, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're thick, they're big. And so, one box, and when you're done filling it, the thing's like 120 pounds. Like,
Yes.
to lift the freaking thing, it's... and DVDs aren't much different. I mean, they're flatter and they're lighter, but they still do take up a good amount of space. So,
Of course.
really what you end up doing is you start narrowing it down to the must-haves of, I must have this movie. Like, there's certain movies I had to own. Like, I had to get the Dark Knight series, like the Christian Bale Batman movies.
Yeah.
I had to have those. I'm not just gonna be like, yeah, I can watch them on. Star Wars, I'm give and take on it. I have the special edition VHS box set, which I probably was one of the last few videotapes I bought. And then I have, the what would it be now? 5, 6, and 7, whatever. Or 1, 2, and 3, or it's all backwards. But you know what I mean. So 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, I have on DVD. I still don't have The Force Awakens, and I'm still just debating, do I want it? Because I could probably just get it on Netflix. I could watch it on
It
streaming.
is on Netflix.
Exactly. And, like, how long is it going to be on Netflix? I don't know. Like, that's always the thing that stays in my mind, though. Like, if I see it's on Netflix now, I can watch it now. But what if I hold off and I wait, 2 months or a year?
Yeah.
And then I feel like watching it and it's not there anymore.
Yes.
Then it's like, ooh.
And that's why I bought mine on Vudu. I pre-ordered it. So instead of it being... They actually gave you a deal, too. So if you pre-ordered it, it was supposed to be like $19.99. And if you pre-ordered it, they dropped it down to $14.99.
I've seen with... I don't know if they all do it or if a lot of them do it, but with Rogers Cable, which is our cable system here in Ontario, Toronto.
Ooh.
Sometimes when there's an advanced release, like when the Force Awakens came out, if you purchased it to stream it onto your TV, they would also send you the disc.
Okay, that's
so
cool.
You'd actually get both copies, and I thought that's kind of neat. You end up paying like $25.
But now, if you go buy a Blu-ray, it comes with a code on it from Ultraviolet
to download it, right?
to have it on whatever streaming service you want.
Yeah,
so you can have both copies that way.
Yeah, so either way, we're getting into this. You can still have this, but I really think that buying the physical, as far as movies, anyways, buying the physical copies have just been narrowed down to the ones you really just gotta have those. Right?
Yes, and that's how I am too.
In the past, when VHS was reigning supreme, I used to buy them all the time. I'd just be like going through the bins. I'd be like, this looks cool. This one's $5. This one, I want to buy this whole series. I'd just be buying them like crazy. And that's when I started to like stop, get to the point where like, whoa, slow down. It was probably the first time I had to move out of my parents' house when I realized how many friggin' movies I have.
Yeah.
And how many boxes of fucking hauling up the stairs and down the stairs. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And how many times am I going to watch half of these again, right?
Yeah.
And then when I got my first DVD player, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to have to buy all this shit on DVD. And do I keep the VHS or do I get rid of it? And, I think I did one of those slowly. I try and buy the DVD and then get rid of the VHS. But that never happened for a while, so I ended up with both. And I don't know. It was just a mess.
For me, I've always been the type of person that I will buy a movie if I know I'm going to watch 100 times.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that I will buy a movie.
But would you buy, if you had it on VHS, would you buy it on DVD as well?
Of course.
Like, that's the other question.
Okay, that's what I mean. I bought VHS.
Then buy the streaming
DVD,
one. Then
buy Blu-ray, and now I'm buying streaming only.
But then you got like 7 copies of the same movie.
Yes, I do.
I can play it on this machine. I can play it on that machine. I can download it.
I have 1, 2, 3... altogether 4 copies of 2001: A Space Odyssey. I have the downloadable, or the one on Vudu. I have it on 2 copies on VHS. There's a special edition. And,
yes, the special editions.
And I bought it on DVD, and I bought it on Blu-ray, which I still have the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So there's movies that I know they're like classics to me, and I will watch over and over again. And no matter what fucking format comes out, I will buy it.
I think the special edition piece too is part of the sale, right?
Of course,
because they'd be like, you'd have it a regular, like Back to the Future, the 30th anniversary or whatever came out, all this extras and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I want that, but then I'm like, I have the box set of Back to the Future. So do I just buy it just to get those extras? I don't know if I'm gonna.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, and before people would say, on the streaming stuff or on the stuff that you can buy online, it's like, there's no special edition stuff. Now there is.
Yeah.
It comes with the special edition stuff, so you can download that. It all comes together, so you can watch it together. The only thing is, the home theater people, the niche crowd, the Illuminati that I call them, okay? I love you guys, but you're a little bit nuts, okay? Because you have way too much OCD, like I used to. But I take pills now, so I'm much better now. The point is that you tell a home theater Illuminati guy that you're going to watch The Force Awakens, not on Blu-ray, which has, uncompressed audio, 1080p, blah, blah, blah. The whole shaboom. And then you tell them you're going to watch it on streaming, they will fucking flip out on your ass. But the point being at the same time is, yes, there is that convenience factor, but you know what? The surround sound on it is not too bad. It's higher quality than it is on DVD. It's not the same at Blu-ray. Okay, it's fine. It's not totally uncompressed, but to these ears and to this audio setup here, which is nothing to fucking sneeze at, okay? I promise you that. I can't really tell the difference sometimes because I get drawn into the movie visually, but orally, I'm there. I'm not... When I first got into home theater, I used to sit there and not pay attention to the movie, but pay attention to the panning effect and the surround sound effect. It's like, why am I doing this? I'm not enjoying the movie anymore.
You get into that mentality of what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, I get into the mode of like, oh wait, here comes the jet. It's going to fly over, and I'm just listening for the flyby. I'm not actually paying to the movie. Now that I'm paying attention to the movie and being a real cinephile, the surround sound is that 50% that you need for the full movie experience, but I'm not letting it run my life. I'm letting it encompass me into the movie.
Well, yeah, when it all comes down to it, I mean, it's all about watching a movie, right?
Yeah,
it's
but
watching something.
But home theater people will buy the latest fucking gadgets just to hear a fucking airplane fart in the middle of the air so they can hear it pristinely. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make one fucking difference or iota to the movie that you're watching. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not into home theater like I used to be anymore. I'm enjoying it. So Dolby Digital on DVD was like 384 kilobits, or the highest was 448. They're using now on streaming Dolby Digital Plus, which is 640. So there's a lot more data now within the stream. And also they're using the new atmosphere or Atmos thing that the guys now are going nuts about.
Now look at me, man. You're talking to a guy here who watches his TV and gets the audio through the TV. Okay? I don't even have speakers.
Okay, I gotta sit you down. Well, I've been saying that, but we have to sit down and watch a movie or a portion of a movie.
I was like, my parents have a better sound system than I do. Like they actually spend the time and get the right setup going on and the sound and all. I'm still like, just cranking it through the TV, whatever. I almost consider buying a sound bar. I'm like, should I buy one of these sound bars?
You know what? They're actually pretty good, those sound bars.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it because like you were saying, the audio stuff. I realize it does get hard to hear like things like talking and
yes,
and I find the talking is always in the background and the sound effects are blaring and the music's blaring, but then it's like, what do you say? What do you say when I say?
At least with the sound bar, it will separate that stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like to get into.
But get a sound bar with a subwoofer for sure. because you'll get the extra bottom end, and that's like a big deal.
Yeah, because it's either that or I go with a setup like yours. You got these speakers all over the place here.
Yeah, I know, but
I feel
I've
like,
been building this since 1992. I finally said to myself, I'm done. I got the subwoofer that I dreamt about for years. Finally got that. That's it. I'm not upgrading anymore. Even 4K. I'm not fucking going 4K. You hear that? I don't want to spend the money on a 4K TV. I don't want to spend the money on a new receiver.
he says that now.
I've had enough. It's like PC gaming. A new game comes out, you gotta gut your rig, get rid of it, and build a new computer just to play that new game. No, I'm not doing that anymore.
That's why I plug my Atari and my Intellivision and my ColecoVision into a tiny little Sony TV, 30-inch, I think. I don't know. It's the big box, big square. That's how it, and it works all the time.
Exactly. And
60% of the time, all the time.
So, like, the big thing right now, just to sort of, you know what, we're hitting 55 minutes, so we should wrap up. But now that 4K is out,
I don't even know what 4K is.
It's double the resolution of high definition. Okay, it's double.
Okay.
Double or no, it's 4 times, whatever. The Blu-ray players or the HD DVD Blu-ray players are expensive. I haven't even priced them out yet. No, actually, no. They're $400, $399 US. The Samsung one. Sorry, they're not that expensive. Not like when Blu-ray first came out. $1,200 was your cheapest. That's when the PS3 was a bargain.
I was gonna say that's when the PS3 was out and the Xbox had the HD, right?
Yes.
And there was the war going on. Yeah. I kind of paid attention to that because I had a PlayStation 2 and. I was happy that it played DVDs.
Yes.
I'm like, hey, this is cool. I could put a DVD in and watch. Never really had to do it, but I think there was one instance where I had to. But then when it came out with the Blu-ray, and I thought, well, I wasn't too crazy about PlayStation 3 because I'm a retro gamer, so I don't get too much into those games. But that almost sold me on it. I'm like, hey, that's my chance to get a Blu-ray too, right?
Well, it was like Blu-ray players were $1,200. So the PS3 was $699. What do you go for?
Yeah.
All the home theater Illuminati jumped on the PS3.
Yeah, sure.
And that's why the PS3 numbers were crazy.
You get a couple games in there on top of it.
No, they didn't even care, those guys.
Even if they didn't play the games, if their kids are...
Yeah, whatever, exactly.
Someone came over.
But the point was, it played Blu-rays at half the price that the other players were. Now with 4K, it's just another format. All the sort of home theater journalists out there are saying it's going to be a niche format.
Sure.
Because not a lot of people are going to jump on 4K because the difference between the cost, what's that word I'm looking for? The cost to whatever benefit that you're getting out of the item is not.
It's paying off.
No, it's not. It's not enough. Going 1080p to 4K to some people is a huge jump, but to the everyday person, it's not big enough. And there's not enough content out there anyway. Yeah. And to me, 1080p looks fine. Yeah, I've seen 4K stuff. It looks spectacular, but at the end of the day...
It's like those, what was it, 3D TVs that came out for a while?
Oh, yeah, that was a stupid...
I saw that. I'm like, honestly, am I going to sit in my house with 3D glasses on that cost like $100 or whatever? Give me a break.
No, that was stupid. But the next... I think the next big thing, because I don't think 4K will stick around. 4K is just going to be a springboard for 8K, and that's what some of the Japanese companies are working on. But who knows when all this
numbers just keep going up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Who knows when this is all going to stop, and who knows how many times we're going to rebuy our movies and what have you. So I have no idea. So on that thought, the Man Cave Cinema is
now closed.
Take care, everybody. Bye.